Welcome to Real Estate Milestones, where we explore fascinating topics in commercial real estate with knowledgeable industry experts. I'm your host, Ben Malik, and I'm a young real estate professional who is passionate about adding value to people's lives through the incredible power of real estate. My goal is to help you discover what the heck is going on in the industry and how you can get involved. This is Real Estate Milestones, where your future in real estate lies just around the corner.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Real Estate Milestones. Today we have Tyler Cauble, who's a boutique real estate. He's the owner of a boutique real estate development firm and has been a developer since the age of 21. So we're going to learn a lot about his journey and what he's learned from his early start in the industry, and learn a little bit about the Nashville market as well. So Tyler, thanks for coming on the show today.
Ben, excited to be here, man. Thanks for having me on.
Awesome. So in typical real estate milestone fashion, would love to know, what's your first milestone in real estate?
Yeah, my first milestone in real estate, I guess, was becoming the youngest commercial real estate broker in Nashville to actually get my broker's license. We all call ourselves brokers, but a lot of us don't actually get the managing broker's license. So I got that when I was 25.
Awesome. And so I guess from the age of 21 till then, what was the idea? Like, what was your introduction to real estate? How did you get into the space?
Yeah, so I dropped out of college at 20, I guess, after my freshman year of college. So I guess a little bit earlier than 20, but I just kind of messed around in Knoxville on a tech startup for a little bit, then moved back to Nashville and got right into commercial real estate, and started off as the in-house leasing agent for a boutique development firm here in town, working on their office, retail, and industrial portfolio. About 3 years into that, I put together my first development, which was 42 townhomes that we built and sold down in Bellevue, which is about 15 minutes southwest of Nashville, and left after 4.5 years, started my own firm, the Cauble Group, which is a commercial real estate brokerage focused on leasing and sales for office, retail, and industrial properties. We do hospitality as well. We just typically don't do much multifamily. About 6 months later, I started my commercial property management firm, which now has about 2.1 million square feet of assets under management. And that's office, retail, industrial, and multifamily. We will do multifamily there. And then I started my development company in October of 2020. And since then, we've acquired about $50 million worth of real estate, kind of spanning the portfolio as well, from office to retail, industrial, hospitality, you name it. We kind of do a little bit of everything.
Awesome. So you mind telling us about your first deal as a developer? What did you learn there? And I guess if anything went wrong, well, I'd love to hear what you learned in that experience.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, it was a lot of work. I was 24. So at the time, I was still having a broker just to make some money, because, the thing that you don't do in development is make any money until the deal is absolutely done. We had to sell probably over half of the townhouses just to pay off the debt before we started seeing any profits. It was pretty good. I mean, it was a $5 or $6 million project. We sold out at a total value of about 10 or 11 million. Took around 18 to 24 months, depending on if you want to include the very early stages of the contract. And I think the biggest thing that I learned is just how long it takes. You're really the conductor of an orchestra when you are a commercial real estate developer, and you've got to pull a lot of people together in order to pull these projects off. And there's a significant amount of work that goes into these projects before you even break ground on them. So that was probably my biggest lesson there, was just learning how everything kind of ran and went together.
Awesome. That's interesting. Starting with a 42 unit townhouse from the ground up. Seems pretty ambitious, but it sounds like you did pretty well. And that's really interesting. But now it seems like you've done some very different things. I read on your website that you had Peerless Mill in Roswell, Georgia. I guess I want you to tell me about it, but it's adaptive reuse of like a old mill of some sort. Like, that sounds pretty interesting, unique.
Yeah, that's right. We do very different projects here at our development firm, which is unique in the world. A lot of people will stick to Class C value add multifamily, right? And that's all they do. They'll do that all over the country, but that's what they do. Whereas we invest in neighborhoods. So we go into places that we like, where we can see the fundamentals are growing, that tells a good story. And so for the longest time, it was East Nashville and Madison, which is just on the other side of East Nashville. And then we started looking at Chattanooga as an expansion market. I was looking at Huntsville, Knoxville, and Louisville as well. And Chattanooga just happened to be the deal that hit. So we got a tower down there. And then I was asking around, hey, are there any other projects that we should be looking at? And the Peerless Mill came up, and it's an historic wool mill. At one point, it was the largest wool factory in North America, and possibly the world. And they employed over 3,000 people at the peak in 1960. It's 29 buildings, 1.5 million square feet, and sits on 32 acres. So we're essentially designing a self-contained city there.
That's nuts. How do you, okay, well, that's even more than I thought. I didn't realize it was that big. How do you design a city? Just frankly.
Yeah, we're really excited to be working on a project like that, because I didn't think that I would have the opportunity to work on a project like that in my lifetime, let alone this early. But it's step by step. It's eating the elephant one bite at a time, because we can't just go in and drop $100 million into it to fix the property up. Some of these buildings are over 100 years old, and they need some work. They need new roofs. They need to be, have new MEP brought in. So we're just going building by building. What's the easiest thing for us to take down right now? And we're going to finish some of those out, lease them up, refinance, and move on to the next building. But our phase one is really going to be all industrial users. So less of an intensive of a build out, less capital on the front end. That will help us create more cash flow. It's less than 10% occupied right now, and it is cash flowing. We bought it at a really good price. And once we get those users in, then we'll be able to start focusing more on the retail, restaurant, brewery type of users. And the goal there is to just increase the property value by so much with every lease that we can refinance and use that debt to build out the next space.
And so, yeah, the final realization will just be a place for people to go where people also be living there.
That's right. So it'll be creative office, retail, restaurants, a brewery. We've got a distillery that we're talking to right now too. Grocery store, and we are looking at some lofts, as well as a hotel.
Wow, that's really awesome. Yeah, you don't want people drinking and driving back from the brewery, right?
That's right. That's right. Grab a room.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I like that. I've wanted to visit it. I've been wanting to visit Jack Daniel's, which I know is not too far down the road. It's a little far.
No,
Yeah.
it's a fun tour for sure. I love going to the distillery there.
Absolutely. So yeah, it's really exciting. I'm very excited to see where that goes going forward. But going back to Nashville, I guess can you give me the I guess I'm sure you love Nashville a lot. Could you give me the story of Nashville as a whole? And then I'm also really curious. Like I know I've heard a lot about East Nashville. It sounds like you may have moved away from East Nashville a little bit, but I'd love to hear like the big story and then a little bit more about the neighborhood stories.
Yeah, Nashville's got great fundamentals. It's well positioned within the country to service, over 80% of the nation's population within a day's drive. So it's a great logistics hub. That also makes it a very good business hub, because within a 2-hour flight, you can reach a pretty significant portion of the country. And, from Texas to New York and Florida. And, Chicago is only an hour away. So it's very advantageous for a lot of groups in that respect. It's got a great economy. Weathers economic downturns very well, because we have a diverse business base here. Nashville is known for music, but that's actually one of the smaller pieces of our economy here. Healthcare is the biggest, followed by tech, as well as music. You've got a burgeoning entrepreneurial community here, which is pretty fun to see. We've got the Entrepreneur Center and a few other groups that really help foster that within the city. And so that's what's leading to the very strong growth fundamentals that we have. I chose East Nashville when I left and started my own firm, because to me, it was to everybody, it was quote unquote on the wrong side of the river, because it was just across the river from downtown, but it was the cool part of town. It had all the cool bars, restaurants, a lot of really interesting businesses, and there weren't any groups that were focusing on that. I knew that starting a commercial real estate brokerage at 25, I'm not going to be able to compete with the CBREs of the world. So I went and found a neighborhood that they couldn't compete with me in, because they just didn't have a strong presence there, and the buildings aren't nearly big enough for them to really justify working on. We've got a lot of 1,500 to 3,000 square foot buildings here, but you do have your occasional, 30,000 square foot. And so we just decided to plant our flag here, become the commercial real estate brokerage on this side of town. And that's worked out really well for us, because we've heavily invested within this community, and have now expanded that out to Madison, which is just beyond East Nashville. So it helps, because we get to know everybody. We know all the tenants that are looking in the market. and we can actually strategically buy buildings to place tenants that we're representing into those buildings, which I have done before, which is great for financing. But we can also find really strong opportunities off market, like Madison Station. That's a property that we acquired in 2021. That is, it's also on 32 acres, just like Peerless, but it's got a 330,000 square foot shopping center on it right now that we're currently master planning for about 1.5 million square feet of mostly apartments, but it'll also have office and some retail as well.
Great. So the story's coming together. We have you can go into a neighborhood and you can contribute to it. You can build, develop, make it better, attracting more people that you can then help lease properties to. And then if someone wants to buy it, you could also manage their property. So I know you got these three or more components of your business. I want to hear a little bit more. How does your development, brokerage, and property management businesses work together, and how's that a competitive advantage for you?
That's right. I mean, you could say starting 3 different companies would be very difficult to run, but the beneficial thing is that we're very vertically integrated, so they all work together in many different aspects. So, the brokerage finds the deals, and they'll often get listings. And if we build that relationship with the landlord, we could probably get the property management. If property management gets on board and maintains a good relationship with them, we'll probably get the leasing assignments again when that comes back up. If if there are any build outs or anything like that needs to happen, especially something that's more intense, my project management team at the development firm can come in and work with them on that. Of course, the brokerage goes out and finds properties for us to buy and develop ourselves. So, the Cauble group will find it, Hamilton will develop it, Parasol is going to manage it, and it just helps us grow really well all together. So I don't really have to worry too much about having different business development plans. One single plan kind of helps everybody grow.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I'm curious, how do you market this to potential clients or investors in terms of like, do people worry that you're also competing with them? Like, I'm kind of curious just how you approach the business, or how you approach the people who are external to your business that are going to be working with you in some regard.
Yeah, not necessarily. I mean, we are very intentional about not stealing people's clients because we don't have to. We've got plenty of business. So, if a commercial agent refers our property management company to run a property for them, they're going to always get that commercial listing until they say they don't want it, or the landlord says he wants to start exploring other options. And we probably won't be the only hat that we throw in that ring, because we're coming at it from a property management perspective. So we have a fiduciary responsibility to make sure that that landlord gets the best team for the job, which I hope is us. But I'm also very clear to our clients that, like, hey, this may not be a fit for us. So let's go talk to some other groups and see who you're comfortable with. So no, we get a lot of referrals from people. I mean, I tell brokers all the time, if you bring us a property, I'm going to protect you on the commissions. So, we operate in silos together. It's kind of how I like to say it. I mean, just because the development firm is related to a commercial real estate brokerage doesn't mean that brokerage is going to represent us on every single transaction. So we're very just intentional about how we maintain those relationships with the clients. But as far as the business pitch goes, it's hey, we're a full service real estate shop, and we can actually say that. A lot of brokerages will say that, but they're not actually a full service real estate shop. So for us, if you want to get your space leased, we can do it. If you want to sell your building, we can do it. If you want to build out the space, we can do it. If you need it managed, we can do it, and everything in between. So it really is a look at us as your real estate department. We just happen to be outsourced.
Yeah, that's really cool. And yeah, most people, when they say full service, they don't include the development side, which is or like the owner principal side, which I think that makes sense for like it actually being full service. So that's pretty cool.
That's right. And we understand what it's like to be a real estate investor, right? So I mean, we bring that to the table. It's we're not just an LP in somebody else's deal. Like, I'm actively pulling these projects together myself, developing them myself. I go through the permitting process regularly. So we actually understand how all of that works instead of just seeing it from the sidelines.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I guess to get a little more micro, like, what are like the key things that are driving people to the neighborhoods that you like, specifically like East Nashville and I guess Madison? And I'm also curious if this works into the question, what's going on with the football stadium?
Yeah. So, what's driving people to East Nashville and Madison? For East Nashville, it used to be the affordability and the character. It's not really as affordable anymore because it became too popular, but you've got some of the most unique bars and restaurants in the city. It's very walkable. They're very safe neighborhoods. So, and your proximity to downtown is really strong, right? So that's always been a driving factor to East Nashville. Madison is the next suburb out, or the next, little neighborhood. It's really technically a town, but it still has the affordable factor going for it. It also has very strong interstate connectivity. So it's actually only like 12 to 15 minutes from downtown, depending on where you are, which is closer than Green Hills, which is one of the most popular neighborhoods in Nashville, to downtown. So if you look at the geographic location of where it is, there's no way that it can't take off based on everything else that is in that same drive time distance. So yeah, and Madison's starting to get a lot of the other cool businesses that are, can no longer afford East Nashville, or maybe they're looking for a second location with a similar demographic, and Madison has that. So that's causing the expansion in Madison.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That's pretty cool. I'm curious, who are your investors in, or do you have investors in your development business? I'm curious how, yeah, like where is the relationships on that side of your business?
Sure. Yeah. So we do raise LP capital for our projects through what's called a 506B syndication. It's friends and family. You have to be on our list. We have to know you. We have to have a pre-existing relationship with you in order for you to get in. We've done a 506C before, which is basically an accredited investor offering. We didn't really like that. So yeah, I mean, I've got probably 75 to 100 active investors in our deals right now, but I've got probably close somewhere between 300 and 400 on our list. So not everybody comes into every project. I have some investors that'll invest in everything that we do. And I have some that, go big on it on one thing. And then I have some that, hey, I just want to test the waters and see what it's like investing with you. So it's kind of all over the board, just depending on the deal, because we do a wide variety of deals, right? So it's not like my investor base is all multifamily. Our investor base is going to be very broad. That's just interested in seeing cool projects. Because, in East Nashville, we did a 6-bay car wash that we converted into 5 micro restaurants and a bar. That's very different from the 48-room hotel that we're doing down the street, which is very different from Madison Station, which is a 32-acre master plan development. So, everybody has their interests, and we try and cater to a little bit of everything. But first and foremost for us, it's what's going to be fun to work on.
Awesome. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Definitely good for motivation. And also, I think might have to say something to the character of Nashville in general. So I guess, would you agree with that? I guess, are your deals like characteristic of Nashville? And I guess, to including that question, like, what do you love about Nashville in terms of, what's kept you there for so long?
Yeah, I mean, Nashville's just a great city. It's so much fun. There's always something to go do, something new to try. And I think that it's one of those cities that's done a pretty decent job at maintaining the character within neighborhoods. Some of them are starting to lose that. I mean, I grew up in the Green Hills area. Green Hills has kind of lost its character. The Gulch used to be really cool. It's kind of lost its character. But there are some neighborhoods that have gotten very intentional about making sure that, we stay pro small business, and support the businesses that have been there for a while that kind of make the neighborhood what it is. So, to me, that's fun. And again, we love, we live here. We love working within our neighborhood. So we're actively walking around every day. So that makes every project that much more rewarding.
Yeah, absolutely. It makes a lot of sense. And I guess what's your, I guess in terms of the business, the central business district area, I just remember like seeing the most amazing thing ever on LinkedIn. It was a picture of Nashville, like the skyline, and then it was a picture of the skyline with the addition of proposed properties and the additions of under contract properties. It was just like crazy how much development still is going on. I'm curious, do you think that there's any asset class that's getting oversupplied? Do you think that this amount of development is warranted? I'm curious just in terms of the makeup going forward. What's your like idea of this growth, and how much can it continue and like at this pace?
Yeah, I think it absolutely can. I mean, Urban Land Institute named Nashville the #1 city in the country to watch for the second year in a row, which is pretty significant. The only other city I think that's ever done that was San Francisco. And that was back in like 2014, 2015. We all know that city got absolutely destroyed by the pandemic. But yeah, I think the growth is totally warranted. You've got a lot of people that have realized that they don't want to be in these other cities anymore. They want to move to the Southeast, and they want to be able to work remotely. And because of that, they want to be in cooler areas. Maybe it's more affordable. Nashville's far more affordable than most other cities, especially in its size range. It's a blue city in a red state. So you get a lot of the benefits of being in a blue city with a lot of the benefits of being in a red state, right? You have no state income tax, which is huge for a lot of people. So yeah, I think, and look, Oracle just announced last year an 8,500 job campus on 65 acres just outside of downtown. So, which was the biggest jobs announcement in Tennessee history. So Nashville's got a lot of people that are going to be moving to it over the next 5 to 10 years. We've been getting 80 to 100 a day for the last 10. And, that kind of growth warrants quite a bit of construction.
Yeah, absolutely. That makes a lot of sense. I'm curious, you said Nashville might be somewhat affordable for housing, but Broadway is not the most affordable place to go and hang out. I'm curious though, what's your favorite place on Broadway? You get down there?
I would say my favorite place on Broadway is Bridgestone Arena for the Preds games. I try and avoid Broadway like the plague.
Yeah,
I appreciate it for what it is. I mean, it's a great thing for Nashville. Over 50% of our city sales tax is made in the Broadway area. But really since like 2013, 2014, it has not been a local destination spot. It's been mostly tourism, and it's a different vibe. But I like it. It's good tourism for the city.
Yeah, I think it similarly Bourbon Street in New Orleans. I don't get down there very often as a New Orleanian, but or someone who's living here, but it's cool that people like to come and see the city, and there's having a lot of character there. But I did enjoy Broadway just because the music was so different than the New Orleans music, and
Right.
It's great I loved Kid Rock. That his place was pretty sweet.
Yeah, it's fun to go get to experience that. It's something after you've been in Nashville for a while, it just becomes like, hey, that's something that's here. But all these people that are from other cities, they don't have anything like that, and so it's a really unique destination for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I'm also curious, just in terms of going back to the business side, that what do you? I guess we've talked about your vertical integration, but I'd say, do you have any competitive advantage? Like, what's the thing that you think gives you the edge over everyone else in the area?
Yeah, the vertical integration is huge. I think that helps us bring a lot of knowledge to the table that most other groups can't. The fact that we focus on East Nashville and Madison, we probably know those neighborhoods better than anybody else. So, that's a huge competitive advantage. Social media and online presence is better than anybody else in the city by far, which drives a pretty significant amount of business for us. And we've been very intentional about that, whether it's from our blog to the YouTube channel, the podcast, my Instagram, all of that stuff really just becomes a great funnel. We've got a course out now. We've got all sorts of different things. I go on other podcasts, right? So all of that just builds this sales funnel to bring us, investors, to bring us clients, and helps, kind of establish us as an authority in the market. So I think that's a pretty good competitive advantage there.
Yeah, absolutely. That makes a lot of sense. And I love your YouTube channel. To plug it, it's
Thank you.
Tyler Cauble. Yeah, but it's definitely got a lot of good stuff. I'm curious, what's some advice you have for growing your YouTube channel and growing a podcast for someone who's thinking about the space or someone who's in it?
Yeah, don't be afraid to share it to your other channels, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, whatever that is. I mean, I did that a ton when I was first starting my YouTube channel. And then just post consistently, once a week is what I started off doing. Then we got to 2 to 3 times a week. Now we're back to 1 to 2 times a week, just because it becomes a lot. But I always aim to just provide super high quality content that was easy to understand. There wasn't very much of that out there on YouTube in the commercial real estate space. I think that I studied all of the other people that were posting videos on this industry, and saw that there was a huge gap for just video quality. We've got motion graphics, we've got really good pictures in all of our stuff. And then, the content is very easily consumed, right? I mean, we've got videos that are 3 to 5 minutes long. I've got videos that are an hour and a half long. It just depends on exactly what you're looking for. So yeah, I think just be consistent about it.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. And where do you think the next opportunity in Nashville is in terms of neighborhoods and just things that are changing?
Yeah, I think Murfreesboro Pike and Clarksville Pike, though neither of those have really been developed all that much, but they're great, uh, future stops because the rest of Nashville has been developed so much that there's only so much more space that you can start going down before you have to start tearing down old buildings and building taller. And the city is going to follow the path of least resistance for the foreseeable future, right? We've got tons of open space. I mean, Nashville is one of the largest cities in terms of landmass in the United States, if not the. Jacksonville, Florida might be the number one, but we're pretty up there. And so, again, tons of land space. And I think there's going to be a focus on the corridors because we don't have mass transit here, which is a travesty. But because of that, it's going to be more important to be in these little nodes that people can easily access from various neighborhoods.
Yeah, well, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That's really interesting. Well, appreciate you sharing all this about Nashville. I'm curious, you ready for the lightning round?
Let's dive in.
Sweet. So, if you could have any superpower, what would that be?
Oh, superpower. Man, I probably want to be able to stop time. Just like go around and look at more real estate and figure out what we really need to buy.
Yeah, similar to mine, right? I have super speed, so
There you go.
maybe that'll help.
Yeah.
So what is your favorite book, or what's the one that's helped you the most?
The book that I probably recommend the most is Walkable Cities by Jeff Speck. It's a phenomenal book. It talks about urban development and design and how cities should be. It kind of changed my perspective on how sidewalks, bike lanes, and things like that really make an area better.
I don't know if you have ever been or seen anything about Copenhagen, but I studied there abroad last year. They have a big sidewalk, then they have a one step down a bike like road, and then step down into the regular road. But like every single road has a bike road, and then every single sidewalk has like a divider. It's like the most beautifully organized city. Not to mention the subway is just so fast and so like clean. But yeah, I think if you're curious about that kind of thing, I would definitely check out. Just look at Copenhagen in whatever way you
Yeah,
can.
I'll have to check that out. Vancouver is another one that's a little more accessible, just because it's closer. That has phenomenal urban design, and I love what they've done with their view shed. They've been very intentional because they got the mountains there. They've been very intentional about designing their towers, and it's in their zoning and codes to where you cannot block specific view sheds. And
Mm,
so, no matter where you are in the city, you always get a great view of nature, which I think is really interesting.
that's really really interesting. And I think about Denver, where you can always see the mountains in the background
Yep,
from
that's
a lot of
exactly it.
angles. It's
It
amazing. It's
matters,
great.
man. People like that. I mean, you think about what a lot of people don't like about New York City. It's you feel like you're in a giant concrete jungle where everywhere you turn is just another building. And there's pros and cons to that, right? But I for one like to see nature all the time. I'm in Nashville, right? I mean, 10 minutes away, you've got farmland, so I'm used to that.
Yeah, absolutely. I would like to say that New York has Central Park, which I know is not like nature when you think about it, but it's amazing to just walk straight out of the city right into this
Oh yeah.
this big park. And there's so many different beautiful parks that I was in New York for 3 months this summer. I was scared that I would just be like, crammed in with all these buildings, but just the parks offer like the perfect escape. So
That's right.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
but
Central Park is
definitely.
awesome.
Yeah, I definitely like the mountains in the background a lot too. So, so what motivates you to continue every day?
I just love what I do. I mean, that makes it very easy. It's fun getting to do this. It's fun getting to help shape neighborhoods and help them maintain their character or add on to that character. And so for us, it's very easy to wake up and get back to it.
Awesome. So, what advice would you give to someone who wants to follow in your footsteps?
Get out there and work your tail off. I mean, that's really all that it takes. Get out there and go find somebody that's doing what you want to do, work for them for free for as long as you can afford to, and show them that you're valuable enough to get paid. That's pretty much what I did. I started off as a commercial real estate broker. I didn't have a salary and I didn't make any money for probably 6 months. I was waiting tables on the side. And I feel like that's something that a lot of people just don't want to do nowadays because they feel like, just because you've got a college degree, you somehow should earn 70 or $80,000 a year. And that's just unfortunately not how the real world works. You've got to go out and learn the skills that are going to help provide value to whatever company you want to go work at. And so, I looked at my first 4.5 years with another development firm essentially as a whole internship or an apprenticeship, if you will, where it's like, okay, I mean, I could probably get better money somewhere else, but I am the knowledge that I'm gaining by just being in this room and seeing how a project gets developed was invaluable. I mean, that's how I put my first development deal together. I sat in on every development meeting a week for 2 or 3 years in a row before I put my first deal together, because I learned by sitting in those meetings, okay, this is how you do it. So, that's given me the knowledge to go out and do my own thing.
Yeah, that's really interesting. That's very helpful. So since I put you on the spot, I want to give you a chance for revenge. What's one question you'd have for me?
How do you like doing the podcast? How's it going?
Yeah, it's going incredibly well. I mean, I just love the podcast because it's like I get to meet someone like you and ask questions that I'm interested in. I know anyone or everyone who listens is also interested in the things that I'm interested in. So I'm able to learn from you and gain a lot of knowledge and insight, and also share that with other people, and I get your A game because, the world's listening, which is helpful for me, but also helpful for everyone who's listening. So it feels really good whenever I get a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, or whenever I get someone saying, "Oh, like I saw your post, like that was great, like I learned this," or I love this. It's like if I get one of those every once in a while, it makes it all worth it. And it's
Yeah.
pretty amazing. And I mean, talking to someone like you every single week for, I guess it's been over a year now, like I've learned an incredible amount.
Yeah, don't ever lose that. I think that it's a great way of approaching the podcast and stuff like that. I mean, I go into it and I'm genuinely asking questions that I want to know the answer to still. I think that there are a lot of people that kind of get egos once they get further into this business. They feel like they know everything, but I genuinely enjoy learning, and I have no problem saying like, "Hey, tell me how that works," because it's just fun. So I think that's great.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I definitely, if I wasn't, I'm doing it to learn, but I guess that's just a natural guide for getting good questions and getting good answers. And I always appreciate when people, answer the question and you're not trying to, work around it to have some sort of message you're trying to say. No, like they're just trying to answer the question and, teach and learn from connecting. And it's so yeah, I love that especially. And I guess big picture, I can't wait for it to be like, I guess not that I can't wait, but I imagine in 30 years from now, some kid is going to see my name somewhere or see me somewhere like, wow, that guy is special. That guy has done the most amazing things. Like, I can't do it. Like, how did he do it? And I want them to go back to my first episode and see me saying, but, fumbling over my words, not really just being curious and asking questions and going for it. And that, be an inspiration that, everyone is capable of doing what they want to do. It's just got to put the time and the effort in.
I think it's great, man. Document the journey.
Of course. So I guess anything you want to share, any closing remarks? Would you like to tell people where they could find you and learn more about what you got going on? But love to hear that.
Sure. Yeah. If you want to connect with me, Instagram is the best way, at commercial in Nashville, with underscores in between the words. If you want to learn more about commercial real estate, check out the YouTube channel. It's Tyler Cauble. And if you really want to learn how to buy and invest in your first deal, I've got a course out. Just go to tylercauble.com/course. It's a pretty intense course that I worked on it for about a year. So you should be able to buy your first property and feel comfortable about it after going through that.
Awesome. Well, I recommend everyone check out the resources. And Tyler, I appreciate you coming to the show. It's been a pleasure and appreciate all you've shared. And Tyler and everyone, keep making milestones. Before you go, I just wanted to say thanks again for tuning in to another awesome episode of Real Estate Milestones. If you've been enjoying the show and you'd like to offer your support, please leave a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts. It's the best way to increase the show's visibility and help the message get out to a greater audience. I really appreciate your time and support, and keep making milestones.
The information provided on this podcast is intended to be educational and informational only and is not considered to be formal legal advice. The listener should not take or refrain from taking action based on its content. Any listener in need of legal opinion upon which to rely in decision-making should consider formally engaging an attorney to review relevant facts in detail and examine the pertinent law as it applies to those facts.